It's an interesting topic because the word itself comes from the Arabic. The etymology of the word alchemy has been a source of numerous debates and so on and so forth. What is interesting is the idea of alchem, which allegedly is the Black Land, or the, which the original matter that is called the stone of the philosophers, not the philosopher's stone, which you always capitalize in English and in French, la pierre philosophale, but the stone of the philosophers is akin to the stone that the builders rejected, that became the head cornerstone. So it is considered to be a vile matter, a scaly black dragon, and one of the definitions is one of the famous Latin quotes is "Nigra sum sed formosa," black am I, but beautiful. And in fact, the original matter, oddly enough, happens to be a black matter, from which, with the proper procedures, is eventually created a crystalline substance, and I'm not about to give all the steps to that, but let us just say that the essential thing is a modification of form through light, fire, or spirit, which in this particular case are all synonyms of an energy which, in the matter being an attractor, sort of receptor, if you will, once prepared in that very complex manner, it receives this very rare cosmic influx to which it lends body. So ultimately, alchemy is at one and the same time the spiritualization of matter, but conversely, and perhaps just and certainly as importantly, is the materialization of spirit, which is what, if one is able to obtain such a perfect vessel, which can lend body to this cosmic influx, which you could call it a spiritual influx, although that would be giving the wrong idea, you end up with a spiritualized matter or a materialized spirit whereby the ordinary laws of physics who govern this universe are totally bypassed, and you now have extraordinary properties with that process. In getting you, in answering the question by saying the quintessential goal is to achieve that, again, a spiritualization of matter, which is at one and at the same time a materialization of spirit. When that occurs, not only are all sorts of extraordinary possibilities that are to be found in the literature, such as the ability to formulate and make an elixir which will cure all ills, prolong life beyond, way far beyond its ordinary scope. And being able to transmute the famous thing that interests everybody about alchemy, and that is the transmutation of base metals into gold. Now, for a long time, this was considered to be an impossibility until with modern means, one can achieve that, but at what cost? With an expenditure of a great deal of energy. However, in alchemy, this is achieved as a kind of fusion. So we're talking about something that is almost, it comes from such a hoary antiquity, and even possibly another dimension altogether, a prehistorical, in the sense that it's beyond recorded history, these concepts. But the fascinating thing is that none of these things would matter. So yes, so if you can transmute so-called base metals into gold, which is also a solar emblem, an emblem of the incorruptible nature of the gold metal, for instance, and which is used for many, many different extraordinary applications in space and rocket. The use of the gold metal is so varied beyond its glamour that, of course, it became a shining focus of interest. And some people think that, obviously this was not possible, so they psychologized the whole thing into a mere metaphor. What beyond alchemy, the attainment of what is known as the philosopher's stone conveys upon someone who is successful enough to reach such a sublime achievement, to manifest it, is that then one could have something which is so unspeakably extraordinary that one could direct one's attention to anything whatsoever and have the perfect knowledge of any given subject, because it works upon the principle that to know everything, you have to know nothing. So the highest wisdom is to know the no thing, but the no thing is not to be understood. Understood goes without saying. One can't understand anything. One has to understand these things from an inner point of view, and then there is this remarkable achievement where one can transcend science, knowledge, and art, philosophy, and science are then back as being one thing, and it is, in a sense, the highest philosophy, the highest magic. So alchemy contains all these extraordinary dimensions and implications, let's say, implications. Because implications is what the reason that you spoke, Sam, about a reductive notion of what it might be. And it's become, oh, the alchemy of this, the alchemy of that, and all this. It's all nonsense and trivialization of something so profoundly fundamental. And the more one reads, rereads, and plunges into this state of mind, the clearer the clearer it becomes to oneself. But then there's another extraordinary impediment. We have to there use some similes. The alchemists themselves call themselves celestial gardeners. So a gardener in a garden is able to facilitate what nature itself will realize by removing impediments. And if you have planted seeds, you need to take care of them so that they go through their process of growth and maintain the growth, so that a careful gardener will bring the plants to flowering. If it's a fruit, if it produces fruits, then eventually you can reap a harvest. This knowledge, one may possess this completely, know everything there is about growing perfect roses. But to win, in England, there's something called the Chelsea Flower Show. To win the perfect prize for the perfect rose, as it were, takes more than skill and knowledge. There is a state which initially you might think it's luck, but it is an alignment of energy with those natural and divine forces, whereby the individual can eventually manifest something which will lead to that form of a perfect attainment, such as that. It's hard to conceive, but there's no way to give any kind of, not an explanation, of course, but any kind of indication that might have some value in situating how complex and how esoteric that is, and how it's something very difficult. I don't think difficult in to apprehend with ordinary conception. It takes cultivating the ground of oneself to even begin to get into that kind of garden, and leave alone cultivating it.